Melodee Buzzard was set free after being accused of false imprisonment, but she's still the central figure in a heartbreaking mystery stretching from California to Nebraska. As investigators search for her missing 9-year-old daughter Melodee, Ashley's strange cross-country rental car trip and her refusal to cooperate have only deepened the suspicions of everyone. Now, for the very first time, we are hearing Melodee Buzzard speak. It's a recording she made. What does it reveal about her state of mind and her missing daughter? Tonight, we take a close listen. But first, Anna Kepner, an 18-year-old high school senior from Titusville, Florida, slipped away on what was supposed to be a joyful family cruise aboard the Carnival Horizon. Full of life, dreams of joining the U.S. Navy, and a future she'd worked so hard for, Anna seemed unstoppable. But on November 7th, tragedy struck. Her body was discovered concealed under her bed, wrapped in a blanket and covered with life vests. The Miami-Dade medical examiner confirmed her death, but crucial questions remain unanswered. Now the FBI has launched a full investigation into her death, interviewing family members, including her own 16-year-old stepbrother, who's reportedly a suspect in Anna's death. Now, tonight, we are hearing from two family members who were on that cruise, Anna's grandma and grandpa, who reveal their observations and thoughts about Anna's stepbrother and Anna's untimely death. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you with us, and the mystery continues as to what exactly happened here to this 18-year-old on this Carnival cruise. She was an amazing young woman. Anna Kepner is her name, 18 years old, a senior in high school, someone who had her future planned, someone who really knew how to focus in on what was important. Her grades, her work ethic to be tremendous at gymnastics and at cheerleading, and focusing on others, on being friendly to everyone. And sometimes when you're the popular kid in school, you're not friendly to everyone. Anna was. That was just part of her makeup. And everything we've learned about her just shows what an amazing young woman she was and what a great loss this is. Now, she was on a cruise. This was a blended family cruise. So Anna was going with her dad, her stepmother, and then her stepmother's children were there, dad's children were there, and dad's parents were there. So there was some extended family. So as you can see, this should have been an amazing, amazing vacation, and it was anything but. Everyone now is focused on the 16-year-old stepbrother. And the reason they're focusing on the 16-year-old stepbrother is because of what has come out during some custody hearings, that he is in fact being looked at and is a suspect and is being criminally investigated by the FBI. The FBI has jurisdiction over this case because it was a cruise ship that was out in the water. And this 16-year-old is now the focus. So we will be spending a lot of time talking about this 16-year-old and some new information that we're learning because Anna's grandmother and grandfather, who were on that cruise, are speaking out now and talking for the first time. And this is really the first time we're getting sort of a first-hand account of, okay, what was going on? What did people see? What did they hear? How did all this happen? So this will be important for us tonight as we go through all of this because it's clarifying some of the gray area that we had. Number one, in understanding factually what was taking place. And number two, people's thoughts and reactions about it. Now, Anna's grandparents spoke with ABC's Good Morning America about their step-grandson's possible connection to Anna's death. Take a listen.
He was in a room with her. He was the only one seen coming and going. So I can't accuse him because I don't know what happened in that room. But the summation would be that he did something. He was a good student.
Played soccer.
He played soccer, very quiet young man. He had demons, I think, in his past, and he was trying to deal with those.
Demons in his past. Okay. So it seems that Grandma knew that there were some issues with this 16-year-old child. Demons, an interesting choice of words. And maybe he had been through some terrible things, or maybe had done some terrible things. I don't know. But this is a 16-year-old with a history. Okay. Now, I want you to take a look at this more from Barbara Kepner's interview with ABC News. She told ABC that he was an emotional mess. He couldn't even speak. He couldn't believe what had happened. And this is describing the aftermath after Anna is dead in the room. After the boat docked in Miami, the stepbrother was hospitalized for psychiatric observation and then released to stay with a family member. But he was an emotional mess. He couldn't even speak. He couldn't believe what had happened. Now, again, the stepmom is in the middle of a custody battle for her 2 minor children who were both on that cruise, one of whom is the 16-year-old. And this is also where some of the information is coming from, a custody hearing that has taken place in the aftermath of the death of Anna Kepner. Take a listen.
Mom, immediately after the incident, he was hospitalized, and then when released from the hospital, Mom and Dad participated too. They signed a stipulation basically allowing him to live with Mom's relative, and they're getting counseling and so forth for him.
Okay, so it's complicated, right? Because you've got a 16-year-old who is the subject of a custody battle, a 16-year-old who needs help. So Mom and Dad, even though they're not together, they've got to figure all that out. But in the middle of all of that, oh yeah, by the way, he's being looked at by the FBI in the death of his stepsister. Okay. Now, something else that we learned, and this is probably some of the most troubling information that's been learned about this 16-year-old stepbrother. And I don't know if this is part of the demon in the past. I don't know. It wasn't from that long ago. I think it was within the last year. So Anna's former boyfriend spoke to the media outside the celebration of life and gave everyone, the world, a little bit of insight into the stepbrother, including an incident where the boyfriend at 3 a.m. is on a FaceTime call with Anna, who is sleeping. I think she's actually fallen asleep at this point, but the FaceTime call is continuing, and the boyfriend's awake, and he can see what's on the other side of the phone, right, from Anna's phone. Take a listen to what he described seeing.
I think that he walked in there and basically we walked in there and tried to get on top of her and tried to do a sexual thing with her, but he got caught by me in the process of it.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. And she got scared of it and went to go sleep over with friends and whenever she could at mine, but she never could because her stepmom was very controlling of it. I got that, but I was like, her stepbrother is trying to go on top of her in the middle of the night, you know, and they didn't believe me. So. Whenever I was on FaceTime with her and when I was on FaceTime with her and she was laying down and the brother tried to go on top of her and...
You saw that?
Yeah. And then,
how did she react to that?
I was like, what the hell are you doing in the room, you know? Then he got scared and like ran away. And I heard his footsteps like running through the house, you know, because he got caught.
Okay, so what I find significant there is that that's a moment when the stepbrother does not believe the world is watching, like members of his family or anyone. But somebody was watching, her boyfriend, and he saw what happened. Now, we're getting a little bit of a different perspective of this relationship between Anna and her stepbrother from her grandparents. And the grandparents described this relationship, again, to ABC News, and one of our producers took a look at it. Take a listen.
He was an emotional mess. He couldn't even speak. He couldn't believe what had happened. They were just like brother and sister. They were two peas in a pod. I know that those two kids cared about each other in the right way. I can't accuse him because I don't know what happened in that room.
Okay. Can't accuse him of what happened to Anna because wasn't in the room, right? Nobody else was there except the stepbrother and Anna. However, two peas in a pods, they were like two kids who cared about each other in the right way. The way a brother and sister would care about each other. But her boyfriend's describing the relationship in a different way, saying she was very uncomfortable and tried to stay away from him. Take a listen now to the boyfriend's father who spoke with Inside Edition with some more details about the observations of his son.
He saw her stepbrother come in the room when she was sleeping and get on top of her. He says, Dad, I tried to tell the parents that this was happening, and they didn't want to believe me. He's like infatuated, attracted to her like crazy. He's always wanted to date her. She was scared of him because he always carried around a big knife.
Infatuated, scared. Different picture than what the grandparents were saying, two peas in a pod. That's not two peas in a pod. That's disturbing behavior. So which is true? They both could be true in the eyes of the witnesses reporting it. It's just some people may see one thing happening and then the boyfriend saw something when no one was supposed to see what was happening. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Wunsch III, along with criminal defense attorney Darnell Crosland and family law attorney Jennifer Brand. Great to see everyone. Okay, there's a lot of things that bother me here, but let's start with demons. He's been dealing with some demons. How significant, how important can those demons be in trying to evaluate this 16-year-old suspect in what some people are reporting may very well be a homicide, Al?
Okay, well, let's not worry about the demons. Let's worry about a 16-year-old who is rooming with an 18-year-old stepsister in the same room, in a room that's about the size of my desk, okay, right on top of each other. A young woman, an attractive young lady with a 16-year-old boy sitting right next to her. I mean, it's ridiculous. They should not have been in the same room together. There's the demons right there. What demon would put the two of them in that same sort of a situation?
There was also the 14-year-old brother, her 14-year-old blood brother, was also rooming in that cabin. They were the three teenagers on the trip.
Okay, and you know what? They should have been separated. The girls should have been together. The mother with the other daughter and this daughter, the stepdaughter, should have been in one room. The boy should have been in another room. A 16-year-old boy, I mean, I know we don't have to worry about Darnell because he never had these feelings, but a 16-year-old boy in a situation with an attractive 18-year-old girl, there's nothing but trouble going on there. It's a bad situation, and it's made worse by the fact that they allowed this to happen. I don't care if they're two peas in a pod. Those peas should not have been in the same pod. They should have been separated, and they could have hung out on the balcony and everything else, but not sleeping next to each other. A huge mistake. And the parents and the father should have protected his daughter. Simple.
Darnell, you're up.
Yeah, so first of all, Al is absolutely correct. You don't have to worry about me. I never had those feelings of sexual assaulting anyone. I'm a normal, self-respecting individual. So Al and I are agreeing already. And what comes to mind with these cases, Vinny, is Mondami is talking about affordability and the whole world is. Well, I'm talking about avoidability. What? We do so many of these cases on Court TV, and you look at this, and before we start investigating who's responsible, it goes back to how could have this been avoided? We're not going to get this young lady back. And so when you hear demons, when you hear he has problems, behavioral problems, not for the reasons that maybe Al is expressing that they should have been separated, but there should have been some intervention there where they could have been separated, or people checking on them. It seems like they've had all the warning signs that something could have happened here. And again, we failed to avoid this tragedy. And I think that's the deeper tragedy.
Vinny, I don't agree that just putting them or not putting them in the same room really is the problem here. The problem is a bigger problem. She was fearful of this stepbrother in the past. She had expressed some hesitations or concerns about him. The boyfriend expressed concerns about him. The grandparents said he had demons. So why wasn't he getting help? Why are they taking him on a cruise and putting him, with her in a situation where there had been problems before? She had expressed some fear before, and it shouldn't be up to an 18-year-old to advocate for herself in a family where there's someone who has some really serious or problematic issues, enough that a grandmother would say that they're demons. So clearly this child, the 16-year-old, should have had help, and they shouldn't be bringing these kids together on a cruise and leaving them sort of unattended in this type of situation. This is a situation that should have been addressed early on before they even got to the cruise.
All right, Al, let me get back to the original question that I asked you. The demons, right? He's got some history. We don't know what it is. How significant can it be in determining what happens to him, whether he gets charged with a particular charge, whether he gets waived up to adult court, whether he has some sort of psychiatric defense to any of this? How does that potentially impact the prosecution of this case if, in fact, prosecutors believe he's responsible?
Well, I would tell you that this is the first I'm hearing about demons. I mean, Vinny, you and I have covered this story with the podcast and other things along those lines. So we've talked about this. I didn't see demons come up until what's been brought out at this point. I don't see that this kid had any troubled history. I don't see that there's anything that was going on about him as that he was a school problem or he was this, he was that. So, I mean, the demon aspect of it is significant from the standpoint of if he has some psychological issues, that certainly is going to be playing into where we go with regards to charges and whether or not he fully comprehends what was going on at this time. But I have not heard this before. This is the first time I'm hearing this. And if that is indeed the situation, then shame on dad and shame on stepmom for putting them into that type of a position. If they certainly knew about these demons, then he should not have been in the same room as this 18-year-old young lady. He should have been segregated and he should have been chaperoned, and neither which has been done in this case. So regardless of the demons, then you know what? Then the parents are going to be, the father and the stepmother are going to be the ones to blame.
All right, everyone's staying where they are. Go ahead, Darnell. You have about 15 seconds.
Yeah, in every state, there's a different code, but in Connecticut, we normally will request what they call a 5456D, which is an evaluation. So because that was raised, I would think the defense attorney will ask for an independent evaluation ordered by the court from the jump and see where it goes.
Absolutely. And again, we're just getting reports that are getting word from court that he's a suspect of the FBI and things are moving in that direction. He has not been charged with anything yet. When we return, we're going to take a look at the timeline, some new pieces filling in on that timeline, which has changed a bit based upon new information. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, football players in legal jeopardy, men who made millions but end up in criminal court. Is there a connection between the sport and the behavior? Tonight, we investigate.
The disappearance of mother Anna Walsh.
Her husband now charged with her murder.
All eyes on this accused killer.
Mr. Walsh was suspecting his wife of having an affair.
The massive trail of evidence.
This incredible timeline of Google searches.
It shows everything that was in his mind.
He searched how long before a body starts to smell.
The disappearance of Anna Walsh murder trial. Live coverage begins December 1st on Court TV.
Your Honor, it's our understanding that because the cruise was in international waters, that the young child, not the 9-year-old, but the 16-year-old was allowed to drink. The teenagers were given their own room in which to stay. Just a lot of circumstances that showed that the mother in this case was not exercising appropriate supervision over this child or the other child involved.
That's part of the custody hearing that was taking place. Think about that. You know, Anna just dies, and now you're at a custody hearing fighting to keep your child or your children. And by the way, while you were on a cruise, a child who was under your care and custody is dead, and the other one is suspected in the killing. So it's going to be a difficult custody battle for her. We're learning some more details, and I'm going to go through the updated timeline of events here. And we begin on November 6th. And this is while they're on the cruise. During dinner, Anna tells her family she's feeling ill and goes back to her cabin. Anna's 14-year-old brother and 16-year-old stepbrother, who were also staying in the same cabin, return to the room later. Anna's 14-year-old brother changes clothes and leaves the cabin to take pictures of the cruise ship. The 14-year-old returns and notices that Anna isn't in bed. He presumes she is staying up late with the grown-ups. But take a listen to this. This is from, again, Barbara Kepner, the grandmother's interview with ABC News, giving us a few more details about that timeline.
She just said, "Mima, I think I'm going to go back to my room for a little bit. I don't feel well." And she must have felt better because she got dressed up and she came down. We were playing in the casino, and she sat down and she played $20. And she didn't win anything. And she said, "Mima, I love you guys. I'll see you later." She'd pop in and out to check in with us, and we never saw her again after that.
So as we listen to my producer read from part of that interview, it seems that she was feeling ill after dinner, but then felt well enough to get dressed and go out, and then came back. That's a new twist in this timeline now, that she wasn't so sick that she was just like down and out. You know, she was feeling well enough that she got back up and went downstairs with Grandma and Grandpa. All right, let's get back to the timeline. We get to November 7th now. The 14-year-old and 16-year-old boys head to breakfast with the rest of the family. Anna doesn't join them for breakfast, and the family realizes that she's missing. Later, a little bit later on, Anna's father, Christopher Kepner, begins searching the horizon. That's the name of the cruise ship. A medical emergency is announced over the PA system. Christopher goes straight to Anna's cabin, where the cleaning crew had just discovered her body crammed under her bed. Now, as we've been talking about, inside that room were the three teenagers. You have Anna, her stepbrother, and her 14-year-old brother. Take a listen. Again, this is our producer reading from Barbara Kepner's interview with ABC News, talking about why they were all there together.
The two younger girls stayed with the parents, and the three teenagers, they decided amongst themselves they wanted to stay in the room together. But we had a larger room, and we made it very clear that at any time, if they weren't getting along, they didn't want to be together, we had an extra bed in our room that they could come to.
All right. There was an option to go to another room. Grandparents say they'd given everyone an option. Listen, you can come to our room. We got a big room, it's just the two of us, because Mom and Dad had the two girls with them, and then the three teens were in this room. Let's bring back in our think tank Al Wunsch. Jennifer Brand's still with us, having some technical difficulties with Darnell right now. Jennifer, what are your thoughts here? This is kind of this changes the dynamic a little bit, and I'm wondering, the teenagers themselves, according to the grandparents, are the ones who wanted to be together. How does that change the dynamic for you here?
It really doesn't change anything, Vinny, because you're, again, putting it on these children, teenagers, to decide what they want to do. Now, most kids would want to stay in a room together. It's probably more fun than staying with Grandma and Grandpa. They can stay up later. They could talk to their boyfriend. They could do whatever they wanted to do. So it's natural for kids to want to stay together, especially Anna was with her biological brother, and they seemed to get along. It was just the stepbrother, that was sort of the problem. So it really wasn't for the kids to decide. So knowing that Anna and her stepbrother had issues, someone, her father, somebody, the grandparents, should have intervened and said, you know what, I think it's best that Anna stay with us, or the stepbrother stay with, somebody else, and mix them around so that these two would not be in the same room.
Yeah, Darnell, here's I think the problem we're all struggling with. If this tension really did pre-exist and it wasn't just out of nowhere that this 16-year-old allegedly acts up and something happens inside the room, if there is an ongoing issue and they'd been together in the same house, I believe, for like a year, approximately, is what we're sort of learning secondhand from the boyfriend, that no one knew about it. Like, there was no acknowledgement of it, because they certainly, grandma and grandpa are out of the loop on it. They didn't know. Obviously, they're not living in the house, but to me, that would be like a real, it would seem that it would be obvious at some point if you're all living in the same house and there's this extreme tension between the 18 and 16-year-old.
This is a hard one to call, because over the course of cases that we've covered on Court TV, there's been this escalating idea, and even to a legal theory, of whether parents should be held responsible for, say, a kid taking a gun to school or etc. The idea here is whether the parents should have known or saw something and should have done something. Here you have grandparents, you have parents, step-parents, you have a blended family. And unless there's something that's violent in this kid's history, I don't
like a demon
so much.
Like a demon?
Yeah,
it keeps coming back to my original question, doesn't it, Darnell? Like, isn't that the key to the whole thing here?
Yeah, but you can't see demons. I mean, I'm on a show with a demon every week, every Monday, and we can't just call 911 because Al's with us. We just have to deal with it.
But what I'm saying, Al, Darnell, what I'm saying is there's some history that even grandma and grandpa knew about, which means everybody knows about it. He was dealing with some demons, okay? Like, you could say he had some issues is one thing, but dealing with demons is much stronger language, much stronger language.
Yeah, but could that lead you to him using drugs, skipping school, to not being focused? Violence is different. If you have violent tendencies, then that's different than if you had demons that demons is dark. I get it, but is it dark in gothic dark, or is it violent? So I'm not sure. We should speak to a demon expert. Al might want to weigh in on this.
Wrong. I think it was something wrong, Darnell. I mean, she said he was dealing with demons. He wasn't missing school or drugs. Maybe drugs, but something there for a grandmother to say that he, had his demons. You just don't put someone with demons in with, his stepsister when she's sleeping at friends' homes. So, I mean, the parents definitely knew that she was stepping out at night and sleeping at other homes because she was scared.
Al, wrap this up for us.
Well, Ben, I got to tell you something. Like, if you take a look at this situation, and anytime you've got someone who's dealing with demons, I don't want them with my 18-year-old daughter. And that's what should have been done in this case. There was no reason for them to be rooming together. I mean, I understand that.
Let me ask Al, just taking it next level. Is there anything that could have been in his past that would then put legal liability on the parents? Is there anything in this 16-year-old's past, if they knew about it, that could put them in legal jeopardy? Or is it just a matter of making a call? It was a bad call, but they're not breaking any laws.
If he has been involved in any type of sexual assault or any type of a situation where he has been stalking or anything along those lines, any young lady in his class or that are in his school, anything along those lines would certainly then raise the curtain as to liability on the parents if they were certainly aware of that. And that could certainly be a type of demon one would be talking about. It is something that would be concerning for anyone under those circumstances. So in that respect, if he's got that past history where he has been stalking or he has been, assaulting or touching inappropriately any young woman or any woman whatsoever, older or younger, that would be the demon that would, to me, say that there's a problem here and they should have been checked.
All right. Think Tank staying with us. Again, 16-year-old has not been charged with anything. When we come back, there she is, Ashley Buzzard, speaking for the first time when we can hear her. She made a recording. I'm going to play it for you. It's quite eye-opening. That's next.
You are ordered to have no contact with Tyler S. Brewer. You are not to buy, own, or possess firearms or ammunition. You are not to attempt to dissuade him from testifying or reporting. You're ordered not to harass, molest, annoy, exert coercive control. You're to have no contact. No contact means telephonically, electronically, through a third party other than through your attorney of record. You are to stay 150 yards away from home, workplace, and vehicle. And I've asked the people to provide the appropriate exclusion zone information. Prohibited conduct may be recorded. This is a temporary order during the pendency of this case.
That case is over now, so all that is dropped. It was a charge of false imprisonment, a complaint by Tyler Brewer, who was a friend of hers, and the judge, after the hearing, dropped those charges, dropped the restraining order, everything. It's all gone. But while it was happening, she made a recording. I want to remind you, by the way, it's been 48 days since Ashley's daughter, Melodee Buzzard, was last seen. 48 days. What is going on? Anyhow, I want you to take a look at, or take a listen to the recording that was made. This recording was made as Tyler Brewer is inside Ashley's house, and this is while Melodee is missing. But it's not so much about whether false imprisonment is taking place. To me, it's about what's the state of mind of Ashley Buzzard. Does she sound like someone who is like checked out, like is not making any sense? Or does it sound like someone who knows exactly what she's doing? Take a listen.
And I can't trust you when you're lying. You're flat out lying. You're a really good liar. Like, Tyler. Tyler.
I'm definitely not
Tyler,
trying to deceive.
Be quiet and listen, please. Look at me. Like, I'm an intelligent woman. I'm 40 years old. You deal with legal stuff. Like, who are you kidding? Tyler.
I can only tell you my perspective.
Listen, I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
I understand.
And you need a reality check. If this is on media news, like news talk shows, they're going to be seeing you, they're going to be interested in you. You have to understand that I'm aware, whether you want to admit it or not, you want the attention.
I don't want the attention.
There is absolutely no way in hell that you are not bipolar or have an extreme issue. If you don't realize what you're doing is false advertisement, and there are real legal ramifications, I don't know how you honestly are not worried about being put in jail.
I will have to leave at this moment.
Since you're leaving in an uncomfortable way, I want the keys to my house.
Yeah, they're right there.
And the storage.
Right there.
Nobody else has keys, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. No one else has keys.
Tyler, genuinely, if you've been here, genuinely to help, I appreciate it. The lies are a lot. And especially if you are genuine and trying to help in your own way, you should be very concerned if they recognize you, because anyone else, like running for district, it doesn't add up. I'm not threatening you, but I'm saying, like, I'm not threatening you at all. I'm trying to help as a friend because I feel like it has to be bipolar or something. Like, I don't think you're grasping the level of online things that don't make sense.
No, I understand where you're coming from. At this moment, I would like to leave. And I'm more than receptive if you want to call or text me.
How do I send you the money of the receipts for
I'm
the
not
copies?
concerned about any of that. But I'm still very receptive. Should you want to call me or text me, but I've done nothing intentionally to be deceitful.
All right, the conversation itself is a little like I don't know, a little bizarre. But just listening to her, sounds like she is very aware of what she's doing, at least to me. Now, check this out. News Nation captured this video on Friday of Melodee Buzzard loading moving boxes into a U-Haul. Where's she off to? What is going on here? This is unreal. Let's bring back in our think tank, Al Watch, Darnell Cross, and Jennifer Brandt. Here we are, Al, like nothing's happening. I mean, at first I was thinking, okay, she's like totally like out of it, like she's, you know, oblivious to the real world. No, she sounded like tuned in that conversation, and she recorded it and used it as evidence to get herself set free. I mean, she's not, I don't think she's stupid. I don't think she's, you know, in some sort of mental state that she is oblivious to the real world.
Well, you know, you're right. I mean, she did come across as like she's definitely baiting, and she's definitely moving down a path, and she was able to, you know, smart enough to figure out to tape it and to walk that line down to what she got, what she wanted, which was to get out of that other charge. But the conversation was not a normal conversation. Her accusations, her comments, her things along those lines. I mean, I'm reminded of you know, what a good friend of mine once said, Ian Hunter, that you're never alone with a schizophrenic. And in that kind of a situation, she, you know, anytime somebody keeps saying you're bipolar, you're this, you're that, it's generally turning the attention back to them. Okay, because they're the ones that have the doubts. They're the ones that have the issues, not necessarily the person that they're speaking to. And in this case, that gentleman was, you know, placating her and, you know, trying to calm her down and everything along those lines. But the bottom line is this: there's 48 days that this young woman is missing. Why is there not something more being done on her? Why is there no pressure on her? And why is she putting boxes into a car? You're right. Where is she going? The bottom line in all of this is that we've got a missing Melodee Buzzard. 48 days. That's what, October 7th. Since that time, she has been missing. And that it needs to be addressed. And this woman needs to be pressed as to that. But
yeah, nothing's happening, Darnell. Nothing is happening.
Yeah, so that's my thought. My thought when we first broke the segment, my first question was, yeah, cute, the false imprisonment stuff, nonsense. Where's Melodee? And that was my thought. And so what we find is that in law enforcement, we have the same old toolbox, and we pull the same old tools out of them. So if the real charge is going to be murder, until you get enough evidence for that, we've seen them pick people up on less crime. So that false imprisonment was supposed to be buying them time to see if they can keep her in custody on something, and it's falling apart because there's nothing happening connecting her to missing Melodee Buzzard. So I think that's where we should be looking. So this was no real victory. That was just a ploy anyway. Those weren't real charges. So I don't give her credit for being super smart. I'm with Al. Usually it's the psychiatric one trying to diagnose everyone else.
All right, Jennifer Brandt, I have a very specific question for you. Is there any way to have someone appointed on her behalf, an advocate to represent her? Like, no one is representing the interests of Melodee. Yeah, of Melodee.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they do that in family court all the time, having a guardian ad litem or somebody like that who is there to represent the child, to speak on behalf of the child. and to advocate for a child and doesn't, is not hired by the parents, is appointed by the court.
How do we get the ball rolling on that, though? How do you get the ball rolling? How does that start?
It's usually a judge who does that. But the problem is, Vinny, is that there's no child here. The first step here is to locate this child. Before she can have a voice in court, there's no one there. No one to even for an advocate for a guardian to speak with. So I agree with Darnell and Al. We need to focus on finding the child. Law enforcement should be focused on finding the child. The courts should be questioning, where is the child? Family services should be looking for her. It seems like they're doing other things, but the focus is not on Melodee, and that's where it needs to be. And this investigation needs to be moving forward to find her.
And just on that same line, so Jennifer is absolutely correct. So just so the listeners can understand how this works, depending on the age of the child, they can be an attorney appointed for the child, and that person is a direct advocate for the child, what the child wants. There's no child to express that. The guardian ad litem speaks in what's in the best interest of the child. And so there's two different roles, but we still need the missing ingredients.
Oh, that's the whole thing. Someone needs to get in court and say, hey, somebody please come find my client. But that's not happening. We're out of time. We're out of time.
Family member.
We're out of time. We're out of time. That's all I can say. Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossland, Jennifer Brandt.
Terrific, Jennifer.
The conversation continues. When we come back, something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, football players loved by millions getting into legal trouble, men who've made millions but end up in criminal court. Is there a connection between the sport and the behavior? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Do you think you deserve to die?
My goal is to make sure that you remember me for the rest of your life.
Oh my God.
Interview with a Killer. Marathon starting Friday, 5/4 Central, only on Court TV.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. Flight fight. Who is that? That's Real Housewives of Atlanta star Portia Williams involved in some sort of an altercation on a Delta flight. A woman involved in that altercation accused Portia of assaulting her. Body cam video shows Portia Williams telling police exactly what happened. Let's take a look at the video.
The Instagram was on, and she told me, am I going to have to listen to that? And I said, well, do you want to? And she said, no. I said, okay. And then I said, well, there was a nicer way you could have said that, And then she says, what she said, you don't talk to me. And I was like, are you okay? From that point on, she said, who the you think you are? And so I said, oh, no. I said, y'all need to get her out of here. Please get her away from me. And so then when she, she tried to take her phone record, and she drops her phone on the floor. She's like, you hit me. Oh my God. You hit me. You just hit me in my face. Oh my God. I'm pressing charges. I want you to be in jail. And I'm like, what's happening? So the stewardess
Also, her phone dropped on the floor. You didn't slap the phone from my hand?
No.
Okay. So you're telling me there was nothing physical?
No.
It was just verbal?
Yeah.
Okay.
After a federal investigation, Portia was cleared of any wrongdoing. All right, take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is Catalina Nearing, missing out of Las Vegas, Nevada, 17 years old. If you see Catalina, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Las Vegas Metro Police. Numbers on the screen. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.